Chapter 8, Part 2, Spill the Beans. Keep going, I say. But be careful, Jack says. Again, that's my line. I will, Jack promises. I watch as Jonah leaps from Jack's shoulders and right into the cabinet. Yes! I'm going to push out the sack, Jonah says. Jack, move out of the way or it'll smush you. Jack races to the far side of the counter. Jonah uses all his strength to push out the burlap sack of coins. It lands with a thud on the counter. I glance at Magnus. He's still sleeping. Yes! Yay, I say, great job! Jack gives Jonah a high five. Awesome, little dude. I wouldn't say I'm little, Jonah mutters, but then grins. Maybe compared to Magnus. Jack pushes the sack off the counter onto the floor. It lands with another heavy thud. I hold my breath and glance at the giant again. He stirs but doesn't wake up. I can hear Philippa humming to herself in another room. So far, so good. Jonah and Jack climb down to the floor and rush back over to me. Phew! Just then, though, Magnus stirs again with a low rumble snore. I glance up. He's still sleeping. But his hand drops off the table. His super huge, beefy, giant hand. And it's headed right for where Jack is standing. The giant's hand pushes him right over like he's a bowling pin. Jack goes flying across the room. Ah! Jonah and I race to where Jack landed on the other side of the kitchen. Jack, are you okay? Jonah says, shaking Jack's arm desperately. Jack rubs his back and sits up. I'm okay, he says, just a little sore. We should get out of here. Jonah and I help Jack stand back up. We all look over at the big, heavy bag of coins on the floor. Next problem, Jack says. How are we going to get that bag of coins to the door and down the beanstalk? Good question. Let's all grab part of the top and drag the bag to the door, I say, together. Teamwork, Jonah says, reaching for a section of the sack. Jack and I do too. Ready? I ask. We can all hear Magnus still snoring, so we know he's still asleep. But we don't know for how long. Pull, I say. We all pull. The sack is really heavy, but it'll be worth the effort. We make it all the way to the door, which thankfully Philippa left open. We drag the bag down the cloud walkway, all of us, huffing and puffing. There's the beanstalk, I say when a huge bright green top of it comes into view. How are we going to get the sack down? I ask. We could just drop it, Jonah suggests. Jack rubs his chin. It'll get down there before we do, he points out. But at least we'll be sure it'll land on the ground. You know, gravity. But what if someone happens to be standing in that spot? I say, like your mother. She'll get hit with it. Jack's hazel green eyes widen. I definitely don't want my mom or anyone else to get hurt. Forget the gravity plan. We all stare at the bag of coins again. I have an idea, Jack says. How about if I slide down the beanstalk to the bottom and make sure there's no one around? Then I'll shout up for the two of you to drop the bag. Brilliant, Jonah says. Yay, Jack. Oh, it is a pretty good idea. Okay, I say to Jack. You slide down and tell us when. Then Jonah and I will push the bag off the cloud. I'm on it, Jack says. He leaps onto the beanstalk, then shimmies right down the center. At least getting down looks a lot more fun than climbing up. I watch Jack go through a red and purple cloud, and then I can't see him. Halfway there, he calls up. Almost to the ground. I hear him call more faintly. Okay, I'm on the ground. All clear. Look out, I shout as loud as I can. Jonah and I push the bag off the edge of the cloud walkway and watch it fall through the colorful clouds. Thud. All good, Jack calls up. Phew, Jonah says. He grabs the stem sticking out of the beanstalk. Here I go. He calls and slides down. Now it's my turn. I carefully grab onto the stem and start shimmying down the beanstalk. Ooh, this is really fun. I slide down, right through the multicolored clouds. Ooh, there's a super fluffy pink one that looks just like cotton candy. And there's one that's half orange and half blue. The colors of Smithville Elementary. And look, this one's all sparkly. Sparkles. When do we meet the fairy? A minute later, I'm back on solid ground with Jack and Jonah. Feels good. Hey, Jonah, I say, when do we meet the fairy? Who? Jack asks, grabbing an old peeling red wheelbarrow from the yard. Jonah and I help him hoist the sack of coins into the wheelbarrow. The fairy, I say. The fairy riding a peacock? Jonah adds. A peacock? Don't fairies already fly? I ask. Why would she need to ride a peacock? Jonah shrugs. Jack looks at us and grins. Well, yesterday I would have said there's no such thing as fairies, but now I know that magic beans exist, and beanstalks that grow into the sky, and giants. Who'd have ever thought? So I guess fairies are real too. Yep, I say, thinking of all the magic Jonah and I have seen in fairy tales. Jonah scratches his head looking worried. Jonah says. It's true, Abby, we should have met the fairy by now. Don't fret, mate, Jack says to Jonah. Was the fairy going to help us get into the castle or something? If so, we don't need her. We have what we went for. He points at the sack in the wheelbarrow. Even if we didn't get the goose and the magic harp you mentioned. I guess, I say. But the fairy is supposed to be the one to tell you all about what the awful giant did to your dad, Jonah says. Jack tilts his head and stares at Jonah. He doesn't know, I say to Jonah, because we haven't met the fairy yet. Jonah's face falls and his shoulders slump. Oh, yeah. He turns to Jack. Sorry I said something. I don't want to be the one that tells you. Wait, Jack says. What are you talking about? What awful thing did the giant do to my dad? I'm sorry to be the one to, spill the beans, but the giant killed your father, Jonah says, bowing his head. Huh? Jack asks. He looks confused. The giant didn't kill my father. Huh? Jonah asks, scrunching up his face. Huh? I ask. Jack shakes his head. My dad got really sick. He told me he loved me and my mom with his last breath. I sure do miss my pop, he adds with a wistful sigh. Aw, that's so sad about Jack's dad, but if the giant didn't kill Jack's dad, then... Hey, Abby, Jonah whispers. I think I know why we haven't met the fairy. I think I know, too. Because we're not in that version of the story. So remember how we talked about fairy tales have different versions of the story? And so Jonah and Abby thought they were in the one version of the story, but it turns out they were in a different version. So everything they thought about the giant and the castle and the money is a different version of that. So I'm wondering if they know a different Jack and the Beanstalk story, or if they're just going to have to go with the flow and figure out what happens in this story. So chapter 9 is called Saving Prince, and we will get to that chapter tomorrow. All right, see you, second graders.